Hey guys, thanks for checking out this week's episode. If you like what you're seeing so far, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell notification so you know when a new episode's coming out. Stick around.
Hey, two peanuts were walking down the street.
And they mashed together, and
one was assaulted.
Oh! I love planters-based comedy. That's even my favorite. Oh my God, that was terrible.
Name three Planters jokes.
Howdy.
Howdy!
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad we're all alive.
I'm glad we're all alive too, because like you start, of course, a blizzard of 2025.
Snowmageddon
Oh!
2025.
Boy, they sure could use some of it in L.A.
Yeah, they God
damn it,
speaking
Dan.
of, dude, that looks. The footage is fucking mind blowing.
Dude, I heard one of the newscaster, or one of the guys, actually it was a young lady covering it, nailed it perfectly, called it apocalyptic.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it
The
looks.
Palisades are gone, man. That shit is crazy.
I don't want to make light of it, but like it's. You guys see that movie Nightcrawler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal. It's like that, but for stock footage people right now, because they are probably getting the most hellacious looking fucking.
Oh
shots.
my God. I don't want to make light of it. Let's go back 15 seconds. Well, they could use some of the snow out in L.A. It's good.
I was thinking we were a little too late for that,
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't know. But you could get footage for, like, this is the N2, this is the N3, this is the
man.
N4.
It's crazy. Like the footage of the Hollywood sign with fire behind it looks fucking nuts,
Yeah.
man.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's definitely got some symbolism there.
Yeah.
So 2025 off to a
Dude just rolled in
Just a-
fucking
Yeah.
hardcore.
to a hot start.
Half the country's frozen, then like the coast of the country's on fire.
Yeah.
Yay!
We just need a couple of tsunamis and a tornado, and we'll hit the
There's bird flu, and I think I read something about a mysterious virus working its way through China right now. So
Oh, great! Yeah,
buckle up, motherfucker.
We got drones, blizzards, fires. What's the South got going on, man?
Being the South.
Being the South, I will say parts of Alabama are really pretty. They look. Really,
Oh, I'm sure
really
they
pretty.
look beautiful, but
Yeah.
depending on who you are in the South, may have a very different story to tell.
They stink.
So, how's everybody doing with the snow apocalypse?
I was gonna say, like, it's weird when it pops off and you start talking. Like, Sarah and I are talking, and she's like, "We're good, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, everything's fine." Like, and I was talking to her about the things that I'm actually nervous about, like the things that make me nervous. And the more and more I talk about it, I'm like, God, that would stink to be out of power for like a week.
Yeah.
With like little kids, man. When it's you or just you and your spouse, you're like, we could do it. It would suck so bad, but we would. When you add in these people that literally bring nothing to the table, except needing you to keep them alive, you're like, oh shit. And I was like, should I have gotten a fucking generator? But like
Everyone in town had that idea,
Yeah,
apparently. So,
yeah.
depending on when you would have thought that, you may have been too late.
But it's like, then I need gas and and I'm like, this is I'm not
And
gonna do
then
it.
you realize they're loud.
Yeah.
And you can really only power a couple of things at one time.
I'm
so-
gonna tell you, it'd get loud, and my girls would be like, Dad, that's too loud. Like, yeah, you're right. Turn it off.
Dude, it's funny, though. People will get the smallest generator and expect it to run like their refrigerator, their
house, yeah.
stove, all of their lights, the radio. And it's like, dude, that's going to charge a cell phone maybe
Yeah.
after a while.
I do suddenly, though, understand my dad's urge or like obsession with, but he was like talking about buying a generator for the longest time. Never did, but sure as fuck talked about it a lot.
He's going to buy it next Tuesday.
Yeah, he's doing the dad thing where he talks about it and he's like,
Yeah, I'm going to get to that deck one of these days.
yeah, well, maybe next Thursday. No,
Generacs. Have you seen the commercial for them shits?
Yes.
The ones
I
that
don't-
kick their, like, they look like a big giant AC unit or whatever outside of your house. But it's a generator, and it's, like, wired into your house's grid already. So, like, if shit kicks off, it just kicks on.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So it's like a backup.
Yeah.
Like it just immediately, like at a hospital or something like,
a
that.
Yes.
$20,000
That would be awesome.
like a $20,000 backup. Yes.
Yeah.
Not so awesome. Okay, never mind.
I'm in, baby.
I thought you were gonna say like $20.
Whatever,
I'm like,
wherever it is to keep these sons of guns off my back, you know, as long as we can still watch Chip and Potato and Bluey and shit, we're good.
dude, I'd get if I'd get it if $49.99 gets you started.
Yeah, you stored it. God, that thing. The thing that Herschel Walker was hawking back in the day, you knew that was not going to fucking work. You know, no. You can't plug something in the wall and make a phone call, Herschel.
One of the weekly things that I wanted to talk about for a minute before we get into what bullshit you guys have been up to is we had the premiere of Raw on Netflix this week.
Yeah, I want to talk about this.
And Hulk Hogan got booed out of the fucking building.
That's what I've heard.
Dude, it was hilarious. I'm sorry, but fuck Hulk Hogan, dude.
So he's had a pretty rough run. The last UFC event of the year, he came out with Colby Covington, and Colby Covington is kind of a heel guy for UFC. He's really embraced that kind of identity and role, and he brought Hulk Hogan out, and you could tell they expected to get like a big pop, and it was crickets. And it's like, I just don't think Hulk truly understands where he is as far as like pop culture goes. Like, you were red, white hot there for a while, but the Hulkamaniacs aren't fucking Hulking anymore.
Dude, I mean, it wasn't even like silence at Raw. It was active booing.
Wow.
Dude, he was. Did you see his reaction?
No, I didn't.
Oh my god,
he was not expecting it. And it's like, how could you not?
It like kind of physically froze him for a minute.
Was it worse than when he turned heel during that paper bash at the beach thing?
He was expecting that.
Yeah.
This was completely.
It was like get out of here if you want to live kind of thing.
Not quite to that level. It's like, oh, I really think these people don't like me anymore, and not like a hey, I'm doing this for the because he's out there shilling some fucking beer.
Yeah, real American beer is what it's called.
Yeah, and it's like they have some partnership with WWE where their logo's on the fucking mat now, and it's like it's just fucking stupid. They shouldn't have brought him out because it's like read the fucking room. And the thing is I've had people that were like, oh yeah, they were booing him because of his politics and shit. No, they weren't. They were booing him because he's a fucking racist.
Yeah,
like I'm sorry, and all the backstabbing and shit that we all know about that he did now.
I was gonna say all the
people
shit
just don't fucking like him.
All the shit that I heard him say himself on that McMahon documentary, like Jesus Christ,
it's pretty bad. Like, and then like just go to YouTube and type in Hulk Hogan lies, and people have compiled like, here's a video of the 10 lies that Hulk Hogan has told, and it's a ton of shit.
And each person has 10 different things.
Yeah,
like it's not even all the same list.
He got the kind of heat. He got the bad heat where they're like, we don't care what you're doing, leave.
Yeah.
There's the other kind of heat where they're like, I fucking hate that guy so bad. I want to see somebody kick his ass. You know, where that's like the when he turned heel, that kind of heat and that kind of pop you cannot buy. It was genuine and it was true and real. And I bet you he wants to relive that every day of his life.
Dude,
you know what I mean? Like that. I will never forget that day. As long as I live, I will never forget the time Hulk Hogan turned heel, and everyone was like, drama Cobra or whatever it's called. Like they're like, oh my god, people were crying. This was more like, get the fuck out of here. And it was a whole arena.
Yeah.
Of people like, dude, get this motherfucker out of here. The Hulkster, man, jeez,
yeah,
it's not good.
It was that was one of the things I definitely wanted to get your guys' take on.
I wanted to get your take. How'd it go as far as
the rest of the show?
Yeah,
the rest of the show was good. I fucking liked it. They had a great opener. It was Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns for like the tribal chief kind of thing. Like who's gonna be the tribal chief? And that was a good fucking match. A bunch of people came out that I wasn't expecting. Logan was watching it with me, and he was recording it and trying to do commentary on my phone. He's like, "We're watching Raw."
Oh my God, I love that.
It was cute. John Cena came out and did a promo, which is, I mean, I fucking like John Cena.
So is he back or?
He's back for this year. This is his last year. He's officially retiring from wrestling. He will never do any more wrestling after this year, but he cleared his schedule. He's not doing any movies or anything. He is doing WWE for this year.
Ooh.
So, like, he's going to be in the Rumble. He's going to be at Elimination Chamber. He's going to WrestleMania. He's going to be at Survivor Series. He's going to be at SummerSlam. He's doing this the right way for 1 year and then done.
Damn, that's fucking rad, man.
And it started on Monday Night Raw.
So can he still kind of go?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah. I mean, fuck, he's quite a bit younger than The Rock, and The Rock can still kind of go.
Oh, man, that man.
So, I mean, and The Rock was back on Monday Night Raw, too. He actually came out and opened right after Triple H did.
Yeah.
But all in all, yeah, Seth Rollins and CM Punk had a fucking banger.
Nice.
It was a good show. Rhea Ripley won back the Women's World Championship, which, fucking Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
I would let Rhea Ripley hurt me.
Yeah.
And I'm not into that kind of shit, but I was like, yeah, go ahead, man.
She's a good-looking gal, that's for sure.
Let
She's
Rhea
good
Ripley rip me apart.
I can already tell you're on fucking fire.
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, she's a badass Aussie. She's basically
okay.
like all goth. She's got tattoos, wears like black lipstick, fucking piercings.
Right up Dusty's alley.
Basically,
Yeah,
yeah.
the kind of girl, that you would just let ruin your
Rise
life.
up lights.
Rise up.
Rise up lights.
Dude, there is something just incredibly endearing to me about the Australian accent. Like I will listen to and it's not even like a sexual thing. It's just like
Yeah.
I'll just listen to somebody talking with an Australian accent. I'll just kind of lose track what they're saying.
You know what it is? It's from when we were growing up. We always used to watch Crocodile Dundee.
Huh.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
The part where he's like doing the shit to the bull.
Dude, that shit was awesome.
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
That's not a knife. This is a knife. Dude, that knife is fucking massive.
That's not a knife. That's a spoon. Oh, I've seen you play knifey spoony before.
Very nice. Dude, I saw a video on Facebook, one of those reels, and it was 1960. This American reporter was interviewing guys in an Australian bar, and he's like, "How would one get in a fight in an Australian bar?" And the
Let me
answers
count
were,
the ways.
Dude, the answers were fucking insane. None of them made sense. It was just these Australian guys all half-lit going, "Well, I get his beer," and every single one of them, you're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
If you say my proper Christian name, that'll get your ass kicked.
Dude, it was so nonsensical. None of them made sense whatsoever. And it was Australia's cool, man.
I want to go.
This place is awesome.
I don't want to live there.
No.
I don't want to live there because I've seen the fucking spiders, but I do want to go.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to, die.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So,
I
Dan,
would love to box a kangaroo too.
dude, have you seen those buff ass kangaroos?
Yes.
They would fuck you up. I mean,
no,
no offense.
I
I'm
bet
not
they
doubting your boxing skills.
Look, I want to feel alive, okay?
Yeah.
So getting knocked the fuck out by a kangaroo, I think, would do that.
Dude, as long as somebody got it on film,
Yeah.
I'd be fine with
Rad.
that.
That'd be
I would
rad.
do it for some clout, for sure.
Do it for the pod, dude.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay,
do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
All right.
So other than that, what have you been up to besides getting fucking snowed in and shit?
That was pretty much it. Just that, and I started a new medicine, which is fun, which you guys heard a little bit about yesterday.
Yeah.
So at some point tonight, I might point the microphone down toward my torso, just so we can hear, just so we can get some bubbling sound effects going. It's been a harrowing 48 hours.
Nice. All
But
right.
I mean, but we're on the up.
Yeah,
tick?
I think
mean,
so. Yeah.
Okay.
Dan's sure. Sure.
I took it today and I ate leftovers of the thing that I ate yesterday, thinking afterwards I was like, wait a second, I just fucked myself over.
Here's a little test.
But no, I got a couple of. It was kind of in major pain when they feed him the cupcake laced with the X-Lax.
Oh yes.
He just has a stomach gurgle and he's like,
It
It's kind of like that. Yeah.
And then they dress the fat kid up in a dress and put him in bed with him.
Oh, that's right.
Anyway,
The 90s, man. Shit.
they were a time.
Dude, when he busts the robot, though, while he's doing that shit
yeah.
was
Yeah.
awesome.
Dude, I don't fucking Major Pain is an amazing
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
I will watch that to this day, and I will laugh to this day.
Dude, for sure.
Does he
man.
understand sign language? I will put my foot in your ass. Do you understand, dummy?
It holds up too.
It-
I watched it recently.
got Bam Bam Bigelow. Come on now.
Good.
What
Good.
about you? Like, anything special you want to talk about real quick? We got a little bit of time.
It was the best of times. It was the worst.
Fucking knew
of
that
times.
was
No,
coming.
it was good. The girls went outside a lot. We have definitely drawn the line in the snow. My oldest, Sophia, loves the snow. Loves being outside. Loves like picking it up and throwing it and just being like, Mama, do sledding and stuff. Adriana's like, nope. She there's no way that Sophia can get dressed to go out and Adriana not be like, okay, I have to go too. That has to happen. But the minute she gets out there, she's like,
let's take this party back inside with central heating.
What's Dad doing again? What's Dad and Nina doing again inside? Nina's like sitting up on her own too.
That's awesome.
So she's like, we've been just kind of watching her for the last couple of days. Go.
I mean, fuck. What else are you gonna do?
I know. This is awesome. But yeah, it's been a good, bad blizzard.
Yeah, it was rough for a little while between me and Logan. We some tensions got it got a little tense at times, but I mean we're okay now. Especially that he had a great day at school today. Finally, going back to school today.
I was going to ask you, are they are going to school?
Yeah, but they start a couple hours later today and tomorrow actually also. But yeah, he was excited to go back and he's had a good day. So
I figured they wanted to avoid either a citywide revolt by my parents.
I was getting close. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
I could tell, man. Parents were like, "Okay," or the parents I think would just vote everybody out, on the school board in city. You guys are gone.
Fuck that. I would go find the janitor and be like, let's go open this bitch up. We're taking them there. Whether there's teachers there or not, that's up to you guys.
We could have had our own January 6th.
Oh, my God.
Because it was on
January 6th.
Oh, my God.
That's
parents storm City Hall and go, hey, cut them auditorium lights on, motherfucker. I'll just have them sit in the gym. That's what they did with us. Back in the
just
day.
fucking put a movie.
Put them in the gym.
Dude, they've got these projectors and shit. Just fucking play a movie. Just let them do that shit.
See somebody taking up roosting in Coach Kleiman's office.
That's hilarious. Oh, my God.
One real quick thing I want to, because one last thing I want to talk about before we get into tonight's topic is I want to get your guys' opinion on the whole petition going around by the Bengals fans trying to penalize the Chiefs for quote-unquote throwing the game against Denver.
Nah. It wasn't they weren't throwing the game. It was just you have to rest your guys. And you get to do that when you go 16-1 or 15-1, whatever it is.
It's just the latest in a string of things the Chiefs have done that other teams regularly do as well and other players. But then when the Chiefs do it to their advantage, all of a sudden it's like, oh, Mahomes is running toward the sidelines. Or they're throwing the game and they're not playing their starters. They're screwing people out of the money they paid for tickets. And it's like, this has been happening every season.
Yeah, right. And in my opinion as well, the Bengals, like they've done the last 3 or 4 seasons, they start off September 0-3 every year. They start off 0-3 or 1-4, whatever. Maybe, I don't know, win a game early and take care of your own business.
It was that loss against the Patriots. I think that there is really coming back to bite him in the ass. But one of the things I heard somebody say, and I was like, yes, I absolutely agree with that, was when you place your destiny in another team's hands, give up.
Right.
It's not your fight anymore.
No.
So, I'm sorry, but if it was up to another team for you to get in the playoffs, start looking at next season.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. It's not their job to get you in the playoffs. That's not how it works.
You're not going to make it past the divisional.
No, if I believe with all of my heart, if that game, the Chiefs and Broncos, had anything to do, if that game was for the first seed, if the Chiefs won, they would get the first seed. They would have played everybody.
Yeah.
And they'd have played hard and they would have won. And that's how it works. They already had sealed it up. They need rest.
They earned it. They earned an extra week of rest. And I hope they fucking roll all over everybody.
No shit. I mean, man, whatever. Take care of business in September, man.
It was less about being scared of facing the Bengals again and more about ruining Buffalo
Yeah,
for
listen,
another year.
listen. You get to the playoffs and everybody stinks to play, and the Bengals would not have been a fun game. I mean, it would have been tough. But the Chiefs were like, oh, you know what? Like, they don't give a fuck about that, man.
It's like it really at this point. I don't think it really matters which one of them it would have been. It's like, well, it's not going to be Denver. I'm sorry, but the Broncos are not fucking beating the Bills.
No.
But I digress.
Can I say though, really quick? I will put it on. I will put it out there. I told Sarah this. Just watching the last, 9 weeks of the NFL season, I'm going to put it out there. I do think the Denver Broncos are going to beat the Buffalo Bills.
Really?
I will put it out there. I will put that out there on this podcast. I have this gut feeling that they're going to win. Fast forward 41-0. But I just have a hunch that they're going to do it.
I'll just cut in just like, hey guys, future David here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was an idiot. That's why I should leave gambling alone because I don't know shit.
And yeah, we didn't run anything more than just vanilla plays because we may have to play the Broncos again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's like even if we don't, why would we want to show off any of our defensive sets or anything like that?
And it's all second string guys.
Yeah.
There's a reason that their guys play second string because they don't know the playbook that good. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like first chair trombone knows the notes a little better than second, right?
Yes.
And then when second gets better at reading the notes, the music, then they hop the first one, right? Second string guys are great and they're good for fill-ins and stuff, but they're not going to have the knowledge of the playbook that Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce do. It's just that's the way it works.
Especially when the whole 11-person lineup is second string.
Man,
yeah, like literally everybody.
Are you kidding? Dude, whatever, man. It's a chance for them to get to play in an actual live fire football game against an opponent that they will probably see again. I thought it was a genius move, but whatever.
It was fun.
Yeah. No, I thought it was fun too.
Sorry about your hot dogs, Bongos.
Sorry about you.
So, guys, tonight I'm going to take us back a bit. I'm going to take us back about 60 years.
Oh, God.
So. I know, it's tough. But
I hate 60s.
Around that time, in 1964, 65, there was a lot going on. But there was one group of guys that got together and I think did something kind of special. They went by many names. Some was like the Sigma Six, the Megadeths, the Addabs, the Architectural Addabs.
Ooh. The Architectural Addabs goes hard as fuck.
Yeah, that's
a great name.
All sorts of names. Around 1964, 65, they had one of the guys left because he had some pressure from his parents to focus more on school. Another guy came in, kind of gave them their signature sound, and actually ended up giving them their name. It was a little long at first. They cut out a couple of words, the and the sound, but they would eventually become what the world would know as Pink Floyd.
Okay. Nice.
I think I timed that pretty well, actually.
Good.
All right, so
The Architectural how did that not stick?
right,
God damn.
there was, but like I said, there was quite a few that they actually went by. Some of them were interesting. The Megadeths was one that I thought was pretty cool.
Great
That's cool,
name.
yeah.
And that was before Mustaine.
Before, yeah.
Yeah. Before. Hey there. What is it?
Hello, me. It's me again.
Hello, me. It's me again. Remember when the Pink Floyd experience had our... Wait a minute.
It was the Pink Floyd sound.
Pink Floyd sounds.
Pink Floyd Experience is like a tribute band. I'm pretty sure.
Call dibs. Call dibs.
They were the Screaming Addabs, Leonard's Lodgers, the Spectrum 5.
Oof.
But the one they settled on for a while was the T-set. Now, I'm not going to go into the history. A little bit of a background on these guys, but really we're going to kind of go more over their discography. And you guys knew this was coming from me eventually.
It's more of a chronicling. That's not a history. It's more of a chronically.
You don't know what a fucking stenographer is.
Rise to power.
So the main members of the band were the first kind of two that I'm going to talk about, Nick Mason and Roger Waters. They were friends in college. And then it was the Regent Street Polytechnic was the college that they went to. They were learning to become architects. Whoa. So that's where the Architectural Addabs comes in.
That shit's awesome.
But they decided to kind of start a band. Later on, Rick Wright joined, who at first I think he was playing bass, but then eventually moved on to play pianos and keyboards. They had a couple other people, but one of the guys was Bob Close. He was kind of their main inspiration and mainly he was like the lead singer and stuff, but it was a real pop bluesy kind of thing. Like they just did covers and shit all the time. He's the one who's his parents kind of pressured him like, hey, you need to focus on school and give this shit up. And he's like, okay.
Damn.
What is it with all the old-timey British rockers being super fucking smart?
Right? Like all in the middle of college, they're like, oh yeah, let's do these calculations. And then, oh, I tell you something.
Fucking Brian Mays, an astrophysicist.
Yeah, that
or some
motherfucker
shit?
is for real a rocket scientist.
Yeah,
like literally.
built his own guitar.
And
too.
what's with it with parents just never understanding, man?
Seriously.
Like, Jesus. You talked me out of fucking Pink Floyd, man. You understand how rich they are?
Oh no! Did you have more to add to that?
No, I just like sitting at the table, you know.
But look at this amazing bus stop you designed. It's still there 37 years later.
Dude, that would be fucking hilarious. Just every once in a while, sitting there at dinner, like cutting a steak, and just be like, just slam everything down.
Yeah.
Like, God damn it, it's happening again. So he was replaced by Sid Barrett, whose real name was actually Roger Barrett, but everybody called him Sid. Plus, it would have been confusing because there was already a Roger.
You can't have two Rogers
I know.
in one fucking band.
Roger 1 and Roger 2 just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So in September of '63, Waters and Mason moved into a flat at Stanhope Gardens in Highgate in London that was owned by this guy named Mike Leonard. So that's where the Leonards, what did I say? It was the Leonards. I can't remember what
The Leonard Lodgers?
Yeah, the Leonards Lodgers.
Leonard's
or something
Lodgers.
Like
Dude, that's what pisses me off, though, about, like, London and England is there's like 10 names for where somebody's fucking from. Like, it's just like, pick one.
Right.
All right. Are you from South London or North London? I'm from Halehyde in the Lodgensbergens. Like, get the fuck away from me, man. No, you're not.
that. It was the Leonard's Lodgers.
Leonard's Lodgers is good, too.
But so they lived in this flat, and Leonard like literally just didn't give a shit. I've seen interviews with him where he was like, "Yeah, they could play till whenever." I didn't care. He was on some shit pretty much all the time. So that's when they really started kind of experimenting a little bit. Now, when I say that, a lot of people assume that I mean with drugs, and that's true. With one of them in particular, mainly it was Sid.
Yeah.
He's the one who really got into the whole tune in, drop out kind of thing.
He's like, that sounds amazing.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yay.
But that's kind of where they started doing a lot more of their experimental type shit, which is where the psychedelic kind of aspect came in. Of like, hey, let's play this chord for a while and see if anything comes out of it. Or Sid is, playing the guitar with a Zippo, going up and down, just kind of doing whatever, trying to make noise come out of it and shit like that. Just randomly detuning his shit. It was where they really just kind of experimented and got what would become their sound.
Yeah.
Pretty much for like their first album, which became Piper at the Gates of Dawn. And that's where I want to kind of get into, just like I said, more of like a discography thing. That's kind of we'll get into like little history snippets every once in a while.
Like, first of all, for those of y'all that don't know, Pink Floyd is Dusty's favorite band of all time. He's wearing a great shirt as well. Dusty's really into Pink Floyd. He's got tattoos to prove it. I think it's awesome.
Name 3 songs.
Dusty's like, from what era? You're talking about what producer?
Which side of which album? No.
The Wall Part 1.
Oh, no, don't even go there. Dusty. You don't understand. It's just funny that they like worked it out where they're like, okay, we love getting stoned. We love tripping on acid, right? Yeah. Okay, let's play a guitar with a kazoo for like an hour and see if anything sticks. Nope. Okay, let's move on. And they just like were able to just do that. They were like, listen, anything goes. Okay, anything. If this guy's Leonard, will let us do whatever the fuck we want.
Basically.
Keep giving him LSD, so it's cool.
So one of the guys who ended up originally managing them was a guy named Peter Jenner. He was a lecturer at the London School of Economics.
Yeah, he was on News Guy. That's Peter Jennings.
Yeah. I wanna hold your hand.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
But him and a guy named Andrew King was like the ones who kind of partnered up, and they saw. Because they started playing at like schools and stuff like that, and they were getting a little bit of a following, and it was mainly people who were just like, "What the fuck are they going to play this time?" So they're the ones who kind of started managing them, getting them into a bunch of different like clubs and underground shit. Like one of them where they basically became kind of the house band was a band club called UFO, which had a little bit of everything. It was just kind of a hippie utopia almost. But one of the things they started doing there was experimenting a lot with light and stuff. So they would have like a projector set up, and there was guys literally back there just dropping, like putting drops of different kinds of liquid on it. Just, hey, what's this gonna fucking look like?
Oh my
different
God.
chemical reactions. The projector caught on fire many times.
Yeah, dude.
And so they started coming up with something, and then, it was just... But basically, they were just experimenting with that kind of shit, too. But they would set it to Pink Floyd, or at the time, the Pink Floyd sounds music. So that's where they kind of started getting interested in not just the music of a show, but the whole experience of it. And that's going to come into play much later on.
Laser Floyd.
And, which is rad. I gotta give anything to go back and be like, this is the first show of Leonard's Lodges, and this is some dude like got a projector and putting shit on. I would be in heaven. That'd be
When
amazing.
you said they played at schools, I'm assuming you're talking about like universities.
Yes.
And, okay, because at first I just like thought about like an assembly at elementary school.
Right.
Everybody's sitting crisscross applesauce.
Yep.
And then this acid rock starts playing.
Now, you and I
Dearborn.
both know they didn't call it crisscross applesauce back then.
Yeah,
But anyway.
but still.
With the parlance.
So with Jenner and King, they got them signed to EMI, which that was in '67 is when they signed with EMI.
God.
Right? So, I mean, still 58 years ago now.
Jesus.
So EMI and / Columbia released Pink Floyd's single Arnold Lane in February 15th of 1967, which, do you guys know the song Arnold Lane?
Is it related to Penny Lane at all? Or?
No, not really, but
Yeah.
it's about a guy who steals women's clothes from their laundry lines.
Ah.
Anyway, so
I'm going to be going to A to Z lyrics later.
but no, it's super catchy, I will admit, because I'll be the first to admit I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan, but the Piper at the Gates of Dawn is not really my sound. I was not really into the psychedelic type shit. It's got a couple of bangers on it. Arnold Lane is absolutely one of them because it's very catchy. Bike is another one that's very catchy. I've got a bike, you can ride it if you like. It's got a basket. I'm not going to do the whole thing. But and then See Emily Play was another one that I really liked. But that was See Emily Play was technically their second single. But yeah, Arnold Lane is about a crossdresser who steals like women's clothing and underwear and shit off of their laundry line so that's what he can wear.
Damn.
Pervert.
And I mean, yeah, I don't think that would, depending on which scene. In some scenes, that wouldn't really fly these days.
No,
Well, it didn't
you-
fly
you-
back
you-
then either.
You couldn't play it at any like inaugurations or anything like that.
Damn, that would be up next. Pink Floyd sound. man.
But the big one off of Piper at the Gates of Dawn for me at least was Astronomy Domine, which was it is super psychedelic and stuff, but it's a whole soundscape of just them just trying some shit out. It sounds kind of Interstellar Overdrive kind of type thing, but I don't know, just something about that one really kind of stuck with me. That's about the time where they started getting really popular and getting these gigs on TV. It's also the same time that Sid started taking a lot of acid.
Oh boy.
And those performances, they set up a tour for the United States, and they did a couple of TV shows, and they did not go well at all.
No. What they'd expect? It's in his name.
But I think that might have been one of the reasons why they started calling him that. No, I'm kidding. It was before. It was before when he was a kid. They were calling him Sid. But like one of the shows, for example, they had to mime their performance. I think it was See Emily Play that they were playing, and they sit there and be like, oh yeah, we've got it, and they do rehearsal, and everybody be doing it just fine, and then the guy would be like, okay, we're gonna record and action. And everybody else would be miming along, and Sid would just dead stare at the camera, not do anything. Cut. Okay, well we're doing it now. We're gonna record, and he'd be like, yeah, okay, we're good. Okay, action, and just stare at the camera.
There's something about that action, like when these bands go on TV and they're like, no, you're just gonna mime it. There's people who are like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. Have you ever seen Nirvana? They had to do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they were playing the guitar backwards and shit. And they're like, no, stop, act like. And they're like, oh yeah, okay.
What are you talking about? This is it.
There's some.
You weren't there when we recorded.
Yeah, man, that's how I did it, man. I'm the musician. You're the TV guy.
Yeah.
There's just people that won't play along with that bullshit, man.
Well, and a lot of it had to do with his deteriorating state.
Sure,
I mean, he had overdosed himself several times at this point, and some people do have kind of a belief that there was an underlying symptom as well, that there was perhaps some schizophrenia already kind of there.
Gurgling.
But and it certainly didn't help that it was being compounded with all of this shit. But for the second album, there's really only one song on there that has Sid on it, and that's Jug Band Blues. But around that time, they recruited David Gilmour, who was a childhood friend of Sid's. They'd known each other forever, and actually Sid was kind of confused as to why David was there. Like, really? We have a guitar player. I'm the guitar player. And they're like, well, yeah, he's just going to help you and stuff. And he's like, I don't understand why he's here. I know what the problem is. And this is a legit story that Roger Waters said, that Sid suggested that the issue was that they needed 3 female saxophonists.
Oh, no.
Or saxophonists, or however you say that.
Wow, that
3,
sounds so sophisticated.
Right. that was the solution to all their problems, was they needed 3 specifically female saxophone players.
And they're like, yeah.
They gotta be blondes.
Talk about a trade, though. You know what I mean? Like, just got David Gilmour sitting on the bench.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fucking rad, man. You're like, yeah.
Imagine hearing him play and not asking him to be in your band.
No shit. No shit. They're like, will you mime? And he's like, fuck yeah, mime.
For those unfamiliar, we will get there, but David Gilmour has what is considered probably one of the best live solos of all time by a lot of people. We'll get into that later. So, I mean, yeah, they got a good one.
Yeah, that's a trade and a half, man.
So he started off by kind of playing along with Sid's parts, learning Sid's songs, and eventually it got to the point where they don't know who exactly it was to this day, but they basically all just kind of got together when they were getting ready to go to a gig, and somebody was like, should we go pick up Sid? And everybody's like, nah.
Wow.
Yikes.
So they just left him, and David started doing everything. He was just being Sid for the time being, because that's all they had. They hadn't done anything else original. Then they started writing their own original shit and their sound started changing and stuff. But in the meantime, Sid didn't really even know what was going on. Like they didn't ever really tell him you're out of the band. They just stopped talking to him.
Yeah,
Wow.
but you because we were having to do it because of time constraints.
Yeah.
But like it's not like he was playing ball.
No,
like, the whole
No,
time, and then
not
one
at all.
day
Yeah.
he just showed up, and everybody's like, "Bye," like that'd be weird.
See, and
but-
that's one thing. I'm glad that you pointed that out because that did sound very one-sided, and this wasn't like because they just didn't want to fuck with him anymore. It was because he would spend gigs detuning his guitar.
yeah.
He would destroy equipment. He was literally going insane, and they were missing gigs because of him. They were screwing up gigs because of him. They were not going to make it because of him.
Okay, because at first I just imagined it being like Milton from Office Space. Like, where they're just like,
Go down to the
laying
boiler
off
room.
five years ago. No
Oh,
one's
they
talking
did. Oh, you got to go talk to the man about the stapler.
about it. He fixed the glitch.
So no, not a glitch,
Okay, so this
not a
is just
glitch problem.
Okay,
This was
deteriorating situation.
we can't deal with this shit
Gotcha.
anymore. If we want to keep doing this and try to actually be successful, we can't do it with him. It's a sad fact that they all came to. And Sid did do a little bit of solo stuff, and the original manager stuck with Sid. Because, I mean, if you think about it, he was their creative force. He wrote all the songs that ended up being very popular. He was the lead singer. He was the guitarist. They were like, he's where the future's at. And he got a couple of solo albums out, and that's really about it. And just deteriorated even worse. So the rest of the band went on. The next album that they did was Saucerful of Secrets in 1968. And like I said, it had one Syd Barrett song on it, and that's it. Now, one of the things special about that album is that was the beginning of their relationship with Storm Thorgerson, who's the guy who did the album covers for most of the rest of their catalog. So, like, all the iconic ones that you think of, except for maybe one, was done by him.
Nice.
Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, like all of that stuff was done by him.
Cool.
But it had songs like Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun, which I really like that one. Let There Be More Light, Corporal Clegg, Seesaw, Remember a Day. They were starting to get into the more longer but more structured type stuff. The Piper at the Gates of the Dawn shit, like when they were doing live performances of that album, every performance sounded completely different because it was just them playing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But with this one, this was more structured. It was still kind of the long form stuff, but a lot more structured. Like, okay, we're going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end instead of just, you guys want to stop playing this one now? Okay.
I think that would be hard as fuck to do.
Right?
All the time. Like Grateful Dead do, like they have beginning, the middle, the end, and they're all kind of like in tune with like, well, okay, this has been going on for 17 minutes, but but like to like just play whatever the fuck you want. At some point, wouldn't you be like, you know what would be cool is to kind of have something that I kind of always kind of play. You know what I mean? And then I'll riff off that, and the Sid Barrett's like, no. What the fuck you talking about, man?
Are you crazy?
It's gotta be new all the time.
I personally really enjoy some stone motherfucker like staring into my soul, nodding at me, playing the same chord over and over.
They're like, that's not that unique anymore.
And
You've
just
done that
slowly
17
detuning it.
Yeah, you've done that for 17 shows in a row. That's not that unique, man. Come on.
All right, so next we're going to real quick go over two albums. We had Ummagumma in 1969 and Adam Heartmother in 1970. Ummagumma was interesting because it was a double album. Half of it was live performances of all of their older shit, a lot of Syd Barrett written stuff, but sang by Gilmore. And then the other half, they each basically had a quarter of an album to just do whatever the fuck they wanted. And so it was like very experimental and stuff. And some of it ended up being kind of cool. Some of it not so much. Like one of it is literally just noises of like breakfast stuff, like pots and pans and like bacon
It's
sizzling and
chance music. It's a real genre.
That's crazy.
But so Ummagumma was their first live album mixed with new stuff, which they didn't really tour all that much because, like I said, a lot of it was extremely experimental. Or like David Gilmour's was very bluesy type stuff, and then Roger Waters, I think, was the one. It was several small species of small animals grooving together with a pict or something like that. That's the name of the song. But then after that, they did Atom Heart Mother. That's the one where they first introduced having like an entire band. And by band, I mean like an orchestra, like brass, strings, percussion, all this shit. So it was kind of them dabbling into the whole idea of a concept. Did it go over that well? It's okay, to be honest. Not great, but that's where you start seeing a little bit more form to what eventually they would nail later on. So, like I said, that was 1970. Then 1971 is where they really kind of started hitting it with metal. Metal had one of my all-time favorite songs on it. Well, actually, a couple of my all-time favorite songs on it, but one of them in particular is Echoes, which Echoes actually ended up being... They named their greatest hits album after that song.
Yeah, that shit was fire, boy.
God, I just realized how unfucking familiar I am with their earlier discography.
And honestly, I encourage a lot of people to check it out, because that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this stuff, is because everybody knows it from pretty much from Dark Side on. Everybody knows that stuff, or most of that stuff. But before then, they had some really good music to check out. Echoes is amazing, but it was their first... It's like a 17-minute long song, or like 22 minutes, or something crazy like that. But it has sections that like each sound it's a theme, but they all sound a little bit different. Other ones on there that because I'm pretty sure that's the same album that had One of These Days, which Tony Soprano listens to in the shower.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But anyway, so that's where they first kind of hit the whole idea of we're going to do a concept type thing with just different themes, and we're going to not necessarily worry about individual songs, but just how we're going to try to make people feel. So, and again, that's going to carry on later on. Next was Obscured by Clouds, which was a movie soundtrack. It was for let me see. It was for the... They had already recorded soundtracks to the films The Committee and More, and part of a movie called Zabriskie Point. So they were like dabbling in movie soundtracks at this point. On the back of More Success, the director of that same movie got them to record the soundtrack for his movie Le Valet. They basically took all of that music and turned it into Obscured by Clouds. So it's the soundtrack, but it's just it says I think it even says like music from the motion picture La Valet.
Okay.
But that one was kind of the last time that they did something for someone else, because the next one was 1973, Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, baby. Now we start to get into it, boy.
This is where the whole idea of a concept album comes into play, because basically the way that Waters described it, he's the one who wrote all of the lyrics and came up with the music for a lot of it, but of course everybody had input on the music and shit. But it's all aspects out of their life, like birth, death, money, taxes, love, all that shit. But one of the things that I love about it that he talks about is when he was writing, he said all the stuff that you would normally write and then crumple it up and throw it away, that's the stuff that I kept.
Wow.
And
fucking nuts.
If you look at some of the lyrics of all of the songs on Dark Side of the Moon, some of them are extremely simple, basic, like to the point lyrics that, I could see somebody jotting it down and then thinking about it for a while and being like, you know what? No, I can make that more poetic or whatever.
Yeah.
He didn't bother with that. He was just whatever came to mind. He was writing it, and this is how I feel. Hey, it rhymes. Cool. That works. Kind of a deal. But if you've got songs about death with The Great Gig in the Sky. You got songs Money about...
Obviously kept those lyrics.
Claire Torrey did an amazing job on that song
did.
where she basically... And the whole idea behind that was they told her, because they didn't have any lyrics for it, obviously. It was just a vocal solo, but they told her to think about death. So that's why they actually... I don't even know if it had a name before she did her parts. They just had kind of an idea. They wanted to do this song about death. So that's what she came up with, and that was a first take.
Whoa.
And they were like, good, cut.
Yep,
We don't need to do another one.
She's like, man, that sucked.
Yeah,
You know?
no, she did. She actually like came out of it and was like, "Okay, so what do I need
I'm
to
ready
change?"
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm done warming up.
And
I'm
when
good.
someone's like, "Oh yeah, you're good. You got the first take," you're like, "They're not going to use that." Okay,
Yeah.
well, bye, boys.
Thanks for the paycheck, I guess.
Yeah, fuck.
But like then he started to use dialogue in it too. I mean, there's basically he would interview people. He had cards written out that just had different questions, like just a bunch of random questions. But one of them in particular was, when was the last time that you were angry? And then the next card was, were you in the right? And that one in particular, it was the one where you hear a lot of the answers of course I was in the right. Good manners don't cost nothing, do they? that kind of shit. But he did interviews with Paul McCartney and his wife because they were recording next door, but they didn't end up using it. So how cool is that when you can I don't need Paul McCartney in this one. But like the best one was they interviewed the door guy for the studio that they were recording in, and he's the one who does the there is no dark side of the moon. Matter of fact, it's all dark. But
just really reflective.
yeah, exactly.
For a door guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty damn dark. I mean, that's deep, man. Wow.
So I mean, you guys know. You said you're not familiar with their earlier stuff. I assume you're familiar with Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, I am. But again, even on that, I'm mostly the hits, and I'm mostly I don't have any anything but beyond surface level knowledge.
So like this stuff that you had to play on K-Rock. So like Money, Us and Them,
Time.
Yeah. Time's a good one because that one talks about basically the whole ordeal of life, and how it just flips by. That's actually Roger Waters plucking on his bass,
Dude, that's
doing
sick,
that part.
Dude.
Yeah, and it's not the timing on it is not correct. It's a little bit fast for a heartbeat because that's what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what about you when it comes to Dark Side?
Well, I mean, I spent plenty of time smoking weed in cars and listening to Pink Floyd with Dusty. So especially Dark Side of the Moon is one of those everyone, especially the numbers back it up. Everyone owned a copy of that album.
At one point, it's like everybody owned two.
Yeah,
that's how well it was received.
It's one of those where it's it's a rite of passage. Weirdly, for American kids, you listen to Dark Side of the Moon and you're like,
oh, I get it now.
Yeah. Dude, one of the things I love watching is, because I don't like reaction videos normally, I love watching young kids react to first time hearing Pink Floyd, especially Dark Side, but they will lose their minds. And sorry, I got the hiccups. But just what it would be nice to, like you said, go back and just experience it for the first time and just listen to it from start to finish, because that is the whole idea behind Dark Side of the Moon. Is you listen to it, you put it on side one, you let it play, you flip it over when it's done, you let it play, you go the whole way through.
That would
side one, and then you load another bowl and you go to side two.
Yeah, that would never fly today.
No.
People just don't write music like that. They don't do the album anymore.
And people don't listen to music.
And they don't listen.
Anymore.
Yeah, no one I still love a good album.
Yeah. That's Us and Them is a song. It's one of those I will just always think of being young and stoned. And that song, I'm just what a beautiful song.
Yeah.
The whole thing, just I love that song.
Some of the reactions I've seen for that song in particular, people will start crying.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
And then when you're just kind of looking out the window, you're like, wow, these fucking guys, they're fucking good, man. These guys are good.
So obviously that's where they really just completely blew up and became one of, if not the most famous bands in the world.
Yeah.
So it's for somebody who's more of a metalhead, that's their Black Album.
Yes, that's a great fucking
Gotcha.
analogy, actually.
I don't know. I don't. If we're gonna pick, if we're gonna pick parallels, it might be And Justice for All.
Okay.
It's definitely an earlier. It's there's other stuff that comes after it. The Wall, I think,
Actually,
is,
yeah. Now that I'm
I
thinking
think
about
The
it,
Wall's probably their Black album.
Oh, and
That's
we're not
the
even there
biggest
yet.
Yeah. That's the biggest mainstream.
That's
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That's everybody.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's the build up right before it.
It is.
yeah.
And-
Okay,
and-
I get what you're saying.
It's really, but it's one of the purest of what we know as Pink Floyd, not the early stuff
Yeah.
and not the super late, just David
Yeah.
Gilmour stuff, but everybody together in the like super strong purest form is like that's where
Wait,
it's
is it like season 3 of The Office?
Where like everybody's on the same page.
Like, yeah, like they're really gelling coming to the
Yeah.
show. Like the tension
Yeah.
between Jim and Pam is right there. It's like it's
there's still tension, but it's not too much.
yeah.
So all of them at this have actually said at different times in different interviews and stuff that the recording of Dark Side was when they were all the most in sync and everything was going the way that they wanted it to, basically.
Right on.
So then after that massive success and a ton of like tours and stuff like that, that's when the tours started getting bigger from just like kind of, smaller venues to like, okay, now we're going to do like small stadiums and stuff like that. And then after that, they move on to Wish You Were Here.
Ooh.
Which Wish You Were Here is probably my favorite just from beginning to end. Because it's one that I can listen to every single song, no matter when, no matter what time of the day, anything like that, and I'm there for the entire experience.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about that album I wanted to talk about was the song "Shine On You, Crazy Diamond."
Yeah. That's right.
That song is about Syd Barrett. That's the whole point to that song. If you listen to it, I have a quote on one of my tattoos that now there's a look in your eye like black holes in the sky. The whole song is about Syd. While they were recording it, guess who just happened to show up at the studio?
Fucking crazy,
man.
Not even just while they were recording that album. They were recording that fucking song.
Oh.
So Alan Parsons?
Yeah.
This is when he shows up.
Who I forgot to mention was actually the engineer, I think,
Yeah, that's
on
yeah.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh my god.
Or the producer. One of the he was involved with like the mix of
Yeah,
Dark
no,
Side
I know,
of the Moon.
Yeah, he's a behind the scenes
Yeah.
guy.
So a guy walks into the studio that nobody recognizes. He's overweight. He's bald. He has no eyebrows. And like nobody can tell who he is until finally someone recognizes his eyes. And it's Syd Barrett.
Holy shit.
And mentally, he's gone. He's not really there. To the point where like they were listening back to a part of it, and somebody said, "Can you play that back again?" And he's like, "What's the point? You just heard it." And he just did not register with him that you could rewind and listen again. It was just like the whole situation was not registering with him at all.
Nuts.
Like he really did not even understand what was
Wow.
going on. Yet that's the time where he chooses to try to visit them.
That's crazy.
So a lot of tears were shed that day.
Wow.
Like even like talking about it later on, some of the guys would have tears coming out of their eyes when they're talking about that was the last time that a lot of them saw him.
Damn.
Wow, okay.
Because he eventually ended up passing away in the early 2000s. But it was just the fact that that song is the one that he shows up in. And that's really the only, because they did, there's inspiration from some of the shit that he did in The Wall, but that's the only song that they wrote that is specifically about him.
Right on.
And not just like a generic rock star that could have gone down this path. And it's just, that's one of the little facts that you can take home with you. It's that,
Yeah.
but I remember specifically what I wanted to say about Wish You Were Here is one of our favorite songs on there. David and one of our friends, Tim Greek, you and I, spent all night on a Friday night partying at Tim's trailer. We were drinking, we were smoking, trying to get K-Rock to play Have a Cigar.
We try hard to do that.
We had go.
Man.
Just wait, like
It was harder back then because they were doing like the request thing, but we called so many fucking times, and we were like, "You haven't played it yet," and they're like, "We're getting to it." Like,
They're like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
getting to it
that was an hour ago,
because-
man.
A while ago, man. I remember that like it's yesterday.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to throw that into the rotation. I'm like, really? One of the most famous. Yeah, here we go, man. I'm throwing that in, dude.
One of the few Pink Floyd songs that is not sung by someone who's actually in Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
what? I did not know that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I only know this because Dusty, but yeah.
The album version is sung by, I think it was Roy Baker, I think was his name. I would have to look, but yeah, I can't remember what his name was. But anyway, yeah, it was not sung by anybody else in the band because Roger Waters tried to sing it and nobody really liked the way he was singing it, so they brought in their friend, basically. But on like the tours and stuff like that, it was usually Gilmour, and then once they split up, spoiler alerts, then Waters would sing it himself and stuff. But yeah, on the recording, that is not a member of Pink Floyd singing that song.
Yeah. Wow. And I think it was like, from what I remember, they were everyone was having trouble, like Dusty said, like getting the actual like sound, and then he did it, and it wasn't even like a planned thing. He just kind of did it, and they were like, "Yeah, that fucking sounds good." Can you imagine showing up at a Pink Floyd recording? First of all, you'd be like, "Holy shit!" You sing it, you cut the track, and they're like, "Yeah,
just leave it on there.
Cut it.
Let millions of people hear that."
Yeah, and you're like, "No way, really?" And they're like, "Yeah, that sounded rad, dude."
Just take my place.
Yeah, I'm in Pink Floyd now.
Just kidding.
He was fired immediately.
So, Wish You Were Here had songs like, Have a Cigar, Welcome to the Machine, Wish You Were Here. Yeah, Welcome to the Machine's a fucking amazing song, too. Shine On You Crazy Diamond. But again, it kind of went along with the same thing of like a concept album. It was long-form songs that all just flowed one right into the other, so the idea was listen, just turn it on, let it go. Mm-hmm. That wouldn't change with their next album, which is, again, one of my favorites, Animals. I can't. I wish I could do like the pig sound effect for that, but
oh my god!
But yeah, that one had it. The concept came later on, but they were performing this. They were basically trying these songs out while they were doing the tour for Wish You Were Here. And they were doing the same thing with Wish You Were Here, by the way. They were trying those songs out when they were doing the tour for Dark Side. That was the benefit that they had back then when bootlegging was a lot harder to do.
Yeah.
Is you could try shit out on crowds while you were touring and be like, yeah, you know what? That didn't sound great. We're not going to record that one. Or I could make a change here and stuff. So you can go back and hear like early versions of some of these songs because that's why they stopped, was because bootlegging started to get a lot better.
That's interesting. That's fucking cool.
So like one of the songs was called Raving and Drooling. I think that one ended up becoming Dogs.
Dogs is a great song too.
Dogs is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, it's a goodie.
And that's another long form. I think it's like 17 fucking minutes long. But that is one that you can start to see Roger Waters getting angry. And it's really coming to the forefront.
Nice. Okay.
The other thing to keep in mind is while they were touring this album, things had reached a breaking point between Roger and the way that the audience was receiving the songs, because he was doing all the writing at this point. So basically, he felt a great deal of pride and ownership of these songs. So when people weren't paying attention, it pissed him off, and he let it get to him. So there was a famous incident. It was in Montreal. They were performing. They were doing the tour for Animals. And there were fireworks going off in the crowd, not ones that they had set up or anything. There were, fights and people not paying attention and whatever. And there was these people up front that were losing their fucking mind, just like going crazy, being annoying, shit like that. So Waters gets up close to one of them and ends up spitting in his face.
Oh, man.
And even he said, as soon as it happened, I had to step back and was like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? He lost control and ended up spitting right in the face of a fan of his, supposedly. Oof. I mean, it could have just been a guy who was just there to fuck around, but...
What is it with Montreal and spitting in people's faces?
It's kind of the thing they do.
You just snap?
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
So,
oh my God.
At this point, basically he comes up with an idea. He gets kind of spiteful, and he's like, you know what I'll do? I'll just build a wall in front of me, then you can't get to me. And that's where the idea came from their next studio album, which would become The Wall.
That's awesome.
So this was from all real-life experiences with him. He was putting up a physical wall just to keep himself from getting angry and having to watch the audience not pay attention and not enjoy the music like he thought that they should, which, yes, is a very kind of nihilistic, self-righteous, or narcissistic kind of way to look at it.
It's a
but
good thing he didn't come up in the cell phone age.
he'd have been canceled.
He would have been one of those people like having a full-on fucking meltdown.
It'd have been saucer
Yeah.
full of secrets, and he's like, "Fuck you." No, I'm done. Bye.
So the whole idea for this album comes where, you know what, how about I actually build a wall on the stage, and then at the end we'll knock it down, and, you know, it can represent the physical or the metaphorical wall that we build between ourselves to, you know, try to insulate ourselves from the outside world and stuff. And it just completely became this giant concept, which he initially thought would make a really good album, an amazing live tour, and a great movie. So he already had all of this stuff kind of envisioned from the go. Because he was so focused on it, he wouldn't really take no for an answer from anybody. So when people weren't putting in their fair share, according to him, or, you know, whatever the case is, if he had a problem with you, he made it known. And he had a problem with Rick Wright, the keyboardist.
Okay, uh-oh.
And he even admits that he probably went a little bit overboard with it. But there's other people in the band, Nick Mason, the drummer, and David Gilmour himself even said he wasn't really doing much around that time. Granted, he was going through some family stuff. Like, I think he was going through a divorce and stuff like that. But he wasn't really doing much contributing. So basically, Roger said, either we release this album and he's done with Pink Floyd, or I just release it as a solo album. And nobody else had anything ready to go because they had all been working on this album. So they decided to, after they had gotten done with the tour for The Wall, Rick Wright was out.
Dang, okay,
And
wow.
he knew it, that it was like,
Yeah.
this is it.
Well, and the funny thing is on the tour, he's actually the only one, because technically he wasn't in the band anymore. He was the only one who made money on that tour.
Wow.
Really?
Because he got paid as a musician, whereas the other three were basically in charge of like putting up the money to put on the show.
No
So-
fucking way.
So he made money off the Wall tour. They didn't,
Oh.
which I thought was kind of fitting.
Nice.
But
yeah.
Wow.
He deserves something.
All in all, you know, you're just another brick in the wall, really, Rick. And he's like, you know what? I've heard that 100 fucking times. Wow.
So the album, fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Another one that you're supposed to listen to because it actually tells a story, but you're supposed to listen to it from start to finish. The live show, I've actually seen a later version of just Roger Waters by himself doing a live show. It's fucking life-changing.
Yeah, it looks
dude.
awesome.
It was amazing.
Is that the one that he does now with like the big holograms and shit?
No, that's
Okay.
I mean, he was doing so. The one that I saw, they actually built up the wall brick by brick and section by section, and then at the second half, they were projecting shit onto the wall.
Oh, cool.
But at points, like the projectors were so good where it looked like the wall itself was like turning and flipping around and shit and breaking, and it was all sorts of crazy shit. It looked amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
That's cool.
So the album went off eventually and did phenomenal. The tour, they had to do it in just a couple of select venues because it wasn't really one they could take around that much. When they redid it years and years and years later, they got a lot better at being able to move it, so they had a lot more locations. But there was like a handful of places you could see this show, and every show was fucking sold out. Then the movie came out with Alan Parker actually directed the movie. That one fucked with me for a while because there's certain scenes in that when you're on substances you shouldn't watch at all. But I mean, what are you gonna do?
Well, I mean, you know. What are you gonna do?
So, like I said, then Rick Wright was out. The next album was called The Final Cut, and it was basically what Gilmour and Mason said. It was all the shit that they said they didn't want on the wall. It was like cuts from the wall, just kind of repackaged, and they weren't really that on board with it either, but it was music that they could produce and put out and whatever. So they released that, and then Waters is like, you know what? I don't even need you guys anymore. I'm just going to do the rest of this shit myself. Goes out on his solo tour. Does not make any kind of statement about leaving the band or anything like that. He just goes out and starts doing solo stuff. Well, Gilmour and Mason still want to record and do stuff under Pink Floyd, so they bring Rick Wright back in, and they're like, we're going to go use Pink Floyd's name. We'll see you later. Roger Waters didn't like that at all. So he ended up trying to sue them. Huge battle in court. It ended up being to where Gilmour, Mason, and Wright were allowed to use the name of Pink Floyd. They start recording another album. That album ends up being A Momentary Lapse of Reason, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and
good.
that's where our friend Ben really got into Pink Floyd, was that album in particular.
Right on.
But that's the kind of the start of the Gilmour era of Pink Floyd. The best known ones off of that one, probably Learning to Fly is off of that album.
Incredible.
On the Turning Away, which I fucking love, On the Turning Away. And then one of my other favorites on there is called One Slip, which I really like that song.
Oh yeah, that's a good song. Yeah.
One slip and down the hall we fall. But
Yeah.
it does have a very kind of 80s sound to it, but at the same time, it's got an 80s sound to it. Like, it sounds cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then I know we're kind of speed running through these last couple of albums, but I mean that the Gilmour era was kind of a short era. It was Momentary Lapse of Reason, and then a couple years later was The Division Bell. And they toured that one and did a movie about the tour and a live album and stuff called Pulse. That album is what I was introduced to Pink Floyd by. My dad used to listen to, on repeat, Learning to Fly, the live version album, or the live version on Pulse, just because the drums are fucking amazing on it. And actually seeing the show live and all the lasers and cool effects and shit that they do. If you have you ever seen?
No, I never have. Yeah.
I know you have, right?
I have definitely seen Pulse.
Okay. Well, I mean, not even just Pulse, but really any of their live performances.
No, not really.
If you get a chance, absolutely go see. Like, they have a ton of them on YouTube, but just watch any one song, like a live performance of that song, and just the entire show that they do, all the showmanship and the lights and the effects and everything that goes into it. Just, it's a whole fucking experience.
Man.
And especially seeing it live, seeing The Wall live. I've seen Roger Waters twice, and The Wall live was the first one. The second one, he did a lot off of Animals, which was fucking amazing too, but whole nother experience.
I'm just trying to imagine how that would have been in the moment on hallucinogens.
Oh.
Can't handle that shit on strong acid, man. You probably would just be like, this is not a show.
Yeah.
This is real. And they're like, no, how was the Pink Floyd show? And you're like, no, how was my life?
Yeah, I'm dead now.
I'm dead. I saw it and I died, you dumbass. Like, oh, wow.
So, for the longest time, The Division Bell was the last Pink Floyd album that had ever come out, until they finally released on November 10th, my birthday, of 2015, I believe, their last studio album that they ever did. And it's all instrumental stuff, because it's a lot of stuff that Rick Wright did with them on The Division Bell. He passed away in the early 2000s of cancer. So they used a lot of his recordings to basically finalize and master all of these songs, kind of as a tribute to him. But they added some stuff onto it and made it into like a full album, but it's basically just all instrumental except for like one song. But that is the last studio album that Pink Floyd has and probably ever will do.
Wow, man.
David Gilmour is still recording. He's still touring and stuff like that. He just either he has an album coming out very soon, or he had one not that long ago. I honestly don't remember, and I haven't heard anything.
That
off
makes
of it yet,
sense, because there's a guy I follow that like interviews all sorts of musicians, and he had Dave Gilmour on recently.
Oh fuck, that would be amazing.
By the way, has he not turned into the Hide the Pain Herald guy? The guy with like the cringy, the guy that's got the cup of coffee. He's like, looks like he's in pain.
Well, I mean, and if you think about it, I think he was born in like the late 40s, early 50s.
I just see Brian Dennehy's brother. I was thinking, like instead of a coffee mug, I think he would be like a pint guy. You know what I mean? Like, he just seems like a cigarette and pint kind of guy. I
can see that.
And Brian Dennehy, for whatever reason. And I just want to say really quickly, the Gilmour versus Waters thing, like, I know there's always two sides to a story, and sometimes, like, when you've been knowing a motherfucker for 60 years, there's probably more than two sides to a story.
I'm
like
sure there's
50.
probably 20 sides.
It's just, I'm just down to its core and to its very simplest. It just kind of seems like Roger Waters is a huge dick. And David Gilmour's like, what the fuck, dude? You know what I mean? Like, he seems like a guy who's like, I just kind of like to play, and I'm real good at it, and I can sing too, and we all kind of want to party Pink Floyd style, and you kind of think you're better than everybody, and you're smarter than everybody, but fuck you. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I
Right.
know that it's not, I know that David Gilmour's capable of being probably really egotistical, and, you know, when you get to that level
yeah, I'm
of-
sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're probably... You know, like I'm the shit.
It
Yeah.
feels like he pulled like a Beyonce when she left Destiny's Child.
For
Just
sure.
like, you know what? I'm better than all you bitches. I'm leaving.
Yeah, but he's like, I'm good too.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah, it'd be basically the same thing if Kelly Rowland had kept going.
Yeah. And was like,
And
was
was
like,
a great guitar
was
player.
also a fucking could bust a lick like nobody's fucking business. I mean, the dude can fucking flat out play. There's no doubt about it, and he can sing too. Like, but it just, I don't know. Coming from someone like from me, it just always seemed like Roger Waters was a dick.
Yeah, and honestly, just he has very strong political beliefs that he makes known to everyone that will listen to him. Some of them I agree with, some of them I
Sure.
absolutely do not. But he's extremely outspoken. He's a very intelligent guy too. He
Yeah,
has a
yeah.
very good vocabulary, so it's hard to fucking argue with him.
Yeah.
Because he can out-talk you.
I hate when people use big words.
But I could easily see as him being kind of the main factor as to, well, I'm doing all the work, so I don't really need you guys around anymore. I'll just take all the credit myself. And I mean, I may be completely wrong, but that's just kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
And the other guys were like, well, we're pretty much the whole reason why this thing existed too. It's not, and I mean, Roger Waters' solo stuff is not as good as Pink Floyd stuff.
I was gonna. Okay, so two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, do you agree with him, or is it more of a thing where it's like, you're like kind of taking over all the work, and you don't have to because we would also like to contribute, but you're not letting us. And then you're going, well, I'm doing all the work, and you're like, well, you not fucking
won't let
asking
anybody
me
else.
if I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
do it too, dude.
It's like when someone tells you to do the dishes, and then when you start doing the dishes, they stop you and say you're not doing it right. I'll just do
Yeah.
it myself, and then get mad at you for not doing the dishes.
Right. And you're
Yeah.
like, dude, you can't win. That's what he seems like, is just kind of like,
Yeah.
I can't win with you. Also, what's your favorite Roger Waters solo song, if you can pick one?
I can. 'Cause, I mean, like I said, he's done work with, like, fuck, he had Eric Clapton playing on one of his albums. The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking is a good album. So I'd say my favorite kind of solo Roger Waters song, probably Two Suns in the Sunset, which is about a nuclear bomb. So like,
it's dark, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's juicy.
God.
So yeah, I do have songs of his that I like, and I'm not taking anything away from him. It's just not as good as Pink Floyd stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I will also say, in my opinion, the last couple of Pink Floyd albums, if he would have been involved with them, probably would have been better.
Right.
Probably would have had better writing. Because I
Right.
mean, and again, not taking anything away from the guys who did that album or those albums, but all of them together working in unison was peak. And anything else beyond that is close at best. So that's kind of how I feel about it, is when they were all together working in unison. Basically, it was like Metal, Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, and Animals. That kind of whole period right there, I think, was their best.
Yeah.
The Wall is amazing,
Yeah.
but that's where you started to see stuff changing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. But yes, I do have Roger Waters songs that I do like.
Nice. I feel like a band is always the best when you have like one guy who kind of has like the vision and kind of, you know, maybe does a lot of the heavy lifting, but they know they need like the foundation around them.
Yeah.
You know, where they know, and they know they need somebody to be like, I don't know about that idea. Or every once in a while, or like, let me throw this in here, right here. You know, like,
Yeah.
You need some no men.
Yeah.
You can't have all yes men
yeah,
around. Yeah.
that, and you can't have like sometimes it just, if everybody gets equal say all the time, then you don't get anything like unique and great. I guess sometimes, maybe.
Right. I think too, like, you do always, like, you have to have people matching each other's energy as far as working goes. You know what I'm saying? Like, but when one person is working maniacally and looking around going, why aren't you guys working? You know, and they're like, oh, well, first of all, I don't even know what to fucking do because you're doing everything. And that's just not my bag, baby. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's destined to happen, you know? But like that era, like you said, I mean, it's like decades worth of music.
Yeah.
But man, did they fucking knock them out of the park, man. God dang.
All right, so to wrap up, I'm going to do the cliche bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you guys to make some recommendations for our listeners / watchers on what songs, because even if you don't really know their entire catalog, you know some songs that you enjoy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what songs do you guys recommend to people to check out if they want to get an idea of what Pink Floyd's all about?
Can I just be that guy, the
Do it.
douchebag real quick, who just throws Comfortably Numb out there?
No, yeah, you absolutely can,
Yeah.
because it's essential listening.
It's one of the
yeah.
greatest songs ever.
It's by far my favorite song of theirs on a singular level, and it's just, for me, mostly the guitar playing, like, at the end is just fucking incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But the song itself is also just it's a really visual, good, you know, it's a great song, man.
Yeah.
And that's one that I would encourage you to watch the version from Pulse, the live
Okay.
version of that song in particular, because the solo at the end is fucking mind-blowing.
Nice, all right.
First of all, don't do any best of album ever.
I'll admit, Echoes is a good album. It's got a lot of amazing songs on there.
It's a good primer, yeah.
But so yeah, to start off with, I might say, but to get any context on any of the albums themselves, you got to listen to the whole thing.
Just
really.
just do it. Just do what they want you to do. And because it's like sometimes you're like, man, fuck that. I'll listen to how I want to. Do it. Okay, don't fuck around. Just listen to the whole album. Dogs, Pigs, Us and Them, Welcome to the Machine. All of those are, for me, and Have a Cigar, plus the Primus version of Have a Cigar is fucking rad too. Those songs are quintessentially like Pink Floyd songs for me. I'm more of the funky kind of like that shit and stuff that's like the kind of bluesy, kind of like, hey, easy, hey, what's up, it's Pink Floyd. I love that kind of shit. I'm not so much into learning to fly and stuff like that's not my bag. But the older I get, the more I appreciate it. Where I'm like, that's a good song, you know. You're like, damn, that shit's good because of David Gilmour. But and also like if I'm ranking them, I'm like, The Wall, But then I start like knocking down like the actual songs on The Wall, and I'm like, this is a fucking rad album. So that's another one, like The Wall in its entirety. Just listen to it. Just listen to it because they're all fucking good. They go in order. They tell a story. Just sit back and listen to it. It's worth it if you like getting stoned. Pink Floyd, it's just great being stoned music, man.
Peas and
It's
carrots
just,
right there.
Really, it just works, man. I don't want to tell anybody to do anything they don't feel comfortable with, but that shit on like a Friday night, hanging out, like having a beer, eat pop a gummy, and just let it rip, dude. Just let it go. All your preconceived notions, because I think it's like K-Rock and Pink Floyd are very like, you know, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I think people want to like kind of like judge Pink Floyd based on that kind of stuff, but it's like all their albums together or just an album on its own, like standalone, is a piece of art. It's a piece of art that people worked really, really, really hard on. And it's not just some rock song that we play at fucking noon every day. You know what I mean? Like these pieces, these albums are fantastic for a reason. Dive in. Just go ahead.
Yeah.
Dive in, man. Don't walk in.
Yeah.
Jump in. Just jump in and listen.
The water's fine.
The water's the Roger Waters.
Let's just say the water's Rogers.
The Waters Rogers is a dick, but it's fine. Yes.
I do real quick want to add a couple on there real quick. I think you should check out Coming Back to Life is an amazing song. The Dogs of War is another really good one. Echoes, I think everybody should listen to Echoes once or twice. And one of these days, parentheses, I'm going to cut you into little pieces. That's the one that Tony Soprano jams out to in Sopranos.
Nice.
So it's awesome.
Can't say that on podcasts because people will think you're.
They don't know that I did that.
Okay.
Hey, you know what's easier than Nick Mason's job in Pink Floyd?
What?
Fucking finding us on social media, liking, subscribing, doing all that shit. Check us out, gettinsidetracked.com, and everywhere where you get your fine podcasts.